Hello and welcome to the Friday Market Update. Okay, free money. We're going to talk about that in a minute here, but mortgage rates stayed sideways again this week. What's new, right? It's the same cat and mouse game between the economy and the Fed. Who's going to make the first move? Well, the Fed didn't make any move. They held steady this week. And why? Not enough data to justify a move. So they made no decision. They say they're looking ahead. But let's be honest, they've always looked backwards. They want more data. By the time they react, the data is old and the moment has passed. It always feels like they're a step behind. So we're just going to wait. We're going to wait and see what happens with rates. But right now, they're going sideways. So mortgage rates are still sitting just under 7%. And that's our normal now. Get used to it. But here's what's not normal and what smart buyers are doing differently. They're taking control of their own destiny. They're not waiting for rates to drop. That's the herd mentality. They're stepping up like a buffalo, charging into the storm and owning their outcome. So free money. Let's talk about it. Buffalo buyers, thanks to great agents like you, know something the herd doesn't. They know inventory is up over 30% year over year. They know nearly 40% of listings are seeing price reductions. There's over 3.5 months of supply out there. They know sellers want to sell. That's why their home is on the market. They want to sell. And most sellers have equity, which they're willing to give away at this time to get the deal done. So think about that. So homeowners who bought 5 to 7 years ago are sitting on a mountain of equity. They've made their money. They've got a lot of money to give. Now they're willing to give up some of that equity to move on with their life. They need a bigger home. They need a smaller home. They're going to have a change in their life, and they're doing it every single day. So seller concessions are everywhere. It's free money for smart buyers. Think of it like this. Remember when the government handed out stimulus checks during COVID? People loved it. They spent it and inflation followed. They kept spending. Well, right now, home sellers are handing out their own version of stimulus checks, giving buyers $10,000, $15,000, $20,000, even $30,000 of their equity to cover closing costs or buy down the rates so they can sell their home and get onto their next home in their new life. So everybody wins. The seller still makes profit and the buyer gets a better deal. But how long will this last? Just like the stimulus checks, it's not going to be forever. And we don't know what the timing is. If you're working with buyers now, help them connect the dots. Their biggest concern usually is the payment. But if the seller is covering the closing costs, that frees up cash to lower the rate or even supplement their payment. Suddenly, the payment becomes a little more affordable. This week, I asked 200 agents. I was in the room with 200 agents, talking to them, training them, speaking to them, and I asked them, would your seller take 99% of the list price right now? Every hand in the room went up. And that tells you everything you need to know. They're willing to negotiate, and we haven't even started negotiating. So here's a real life example from this week. This week I had a buyer who wanted to wait. The monthly payment was just uncomfortable. It was about $200 over what they considered their personal budget, even though they could qualify for a lot more. They said they wanted to save another $10,000 to buy next year. So we did the math. If you can save $10,000 in 12 months, guess what? That's $833 a month that you have in disposable income to save. That's far more than the $200 payment difference right now, today. And let's say they take that $10,000 they save, and the future mortgage payment, they put it down on the house, the future mortgage payment would only drop by $63 a month. Do you think that is really going to make a big difference in their budget? So if home prices rise, they'll end up just using that $10,000 that they save over the next year for closing costs, because the closing costs probably won't be around. The seller's probably not going to pay them anymore because they don't need to. Inventory levels will change. So they'll probably end up paying more for the house, and they're just saving money for the closing costs. So in other words, waiting won't solve the problem. It might actually make it worse. Now, the Buffalo buyers I'm working with are getting up to $20,000, $30,000 in seller concessions. That's money to buy down their rate, cover their closing costs, or both sometimes. That's power. That's opportunity, and that is smart. So one more thing, And I see it all the time. Many buyers have enough saved for the down payment. They're saving. I got the down payment. But they forget about the closing costs. And closing costs are generally going to run somewhere in the $10,000 to $15,000. It can sometimes be double what the down payment is. It's a lot of money to save. So that's where you come in right now. You can show them that in this market, they don't need to cover closing costs. That's the seller's gift. That's the free money on the table right now. If a buyer has their down payment saved, they're in the game. They can get in the game and make offers. If the seller says, no, I'm not going to pay your closing costs, they go on to the next one. And they might not get this opportunity again once rates fall and seller leverage returns. It's going to change. It's just a matter of when. This market will pass, but the smart ones, the Buffalo buyers, as I always talk about will already be through the storm, standing on the other side, looking back, saying, holy moly, I'm so glad I went ahead and purchased when I did. So help your buyers take control. Get them the free money that they want. If you want me to partner with you, I'm ready. Have an amazing weekend. We'll see you next week. Gaylord out. Bye, everybody.